You know that feeling, right? You're out on a hike, driving through the middle of nowhere, or heck, even in a weird corner of your own city, and poof, the signal is gone. We've all been there. But what if those dreaded dead zones could just disappear? For good? Well, today we're going to dive into the tech that's promising to do exactly that. Wow. Okay, that is a huge claim. But you know what? It perfectly sums up the absolutely revolutionary promise of a new technology: direct-to-cell satellites. The whole idea is to blanket the entire globe with a signal, leaving literally no corner of the Earth unconnected. For decades, our world has been built around cell towers. But let's be real, they have their limits. There are enormous parts of our planet, we're talking oceans, deserts, mountains, you name it, that are still completely offline. This new tech is a total rethink of how we get connected, stretching that grid to absolutely everywhere. Now, here's the really incredible part. This is not about bringing back those clunky, super expensive satellite phones you see in movies. No way. The whole point, the magic trick, is to connect directly to the phone that's in your pocket right now. No special cases, no new antennas, no changes whatsoever. So how in the world does this actually work? Well, the simplest way to wrap your head around it is to just imagine a cell tower, but in space. That's really it. These companies are launching satellites that act exactly like the towers on the ground, just with a much, much, much better view. And right there, that's the billion-dollar question. I mean, think about it. Your phone is a pretty low-power gadget with a tiny little antenna. It's designed to talk to a tower maybe a few miles away. How can a satellite, hundreds of kilometers up in the sky, possibly hear its faint little whisper? In the engineering world, this is known as the link budget challenge. The best analogy, it's like trying to hear someone whisper to you from the other side of a packed football stadium. The signal just fades into nothing over that huge distance. For decades, honestly, closing that gap seemed pretty much impossible. So what changed? What's the secret sauce that makes it possible now? Well, it's not just one thing. It's really the combination of three amazing technologies finally coming together. First, you need absolutely enormous and incredibly sensitive antennas up in space. Second, you need super flexible, software-defined radios. And third, you need some seriously smart signal processing to find that signal in all the noise. Okay, let's break that down. First, those antennas. We are not talking about your average satellite dish here. We are talking about giant, unfolding, phased array antennas. Some are literally the size of a tennis court. And what they do is electronically focus all their energy into a tight beam, kind of like a spotlight. This lets them basically hyper-focus on your phone. Then, these flexible radios can adjust on the fly, listening for any phone's frequency and even compensating for things like the satellite's incredible speed. And finally, all that data gets beamed down to a ground station where massive computers use some really clever algorithms to pull that tiny, whispered signal out of all the background noise of the universe. It's the combination of all three that makes the magic happen. Now, as you can probably guess, a technological leap this massive has kicked off a brand new, very intense space race. There are several major players all scrambling to be the first to build out these global networks and get the whole planet connected. Let's meet them. So you've got some real heavy hitters here. Of course, there's SpaceX, who's basically adding this capability onto their huge Starlink satellite fleet. Then you have Asti Space Mobile, who's all in on building those massive, tennis court-sized antennas to deliver broadband. And you also have Link Global, which is taking a bit of a different approach, starting with just basic messaging. Everybody's got a slightly different game plan for solving the same puzzle. And it's not just those three either. You might have already seen a version of this with Apple's Emergency SOS feature, which uses the Global Star Network. And chip companies like Qualcomm are now building satellite connectivity right into their chips. So yeah, this tech is starting to show up everywhere. Okay, so that's the technology, that's the how. But now let's get to the really important stuff, the why. Why does getting rid of dead zones actually matter so much? Well, the potential is, it's just world-changing. I mean, just think about the real-world impact for a second. When a natural disaster hits, cell towers are usually the first thing to go down. This tech provides an instant lifeline. Or think about what happens when you connect a remote village to the global economy, to education, to modern healthcare for the very first time. It could even revolutionize supply chains by letting us track anything, anywhere on the planet. And on top of all that, it creates a vital backup for our entire communication system. And the sheer scale of the need here is just mind-boggling. We're talking about almost 3 billion people. who still don't have reliable internet access. This technology offers one of the first truly realistic ways to finally close that gap and connect almost every single person on Earth.
But, of course, a vision this grand doesn't come easy. There are some equally grand challenges standing in the way. It's definitely not as simple as just launching a bunch of satellites and calling it a day.
The reality is, well, it's really complicated. For starters, these satellites have to use the same radio frequencies as the towers on the ground without messing with their signals. The cost is absolutely astronomical, and the business models are still unproven. And every satellite we launch adds to the growing problem of space junk and light pollution, which is a huge concern for astronomers. And then you have to get every country in the world to agree on the rules and regulations. It's a lot.
So what you have is this classic tension, right? On one side, you've got this incredible dream of a totally connected world, this digital utopia. And on the other side, you have the hard, messy realities of managing interference, making the money work, and dealing with the environmental impact in space.
So, does this mean that quote from the beginning was right? Are cell towers really about to become history? Well, not exactly. The future isn't about replacement. It's about teamwork. It's about integration. The real endgame here is a seamless, hybrid network, a world where your phone just automatically connects to whatever's best at that exact moment, be it your home Wi-Fi, a 5G tower down the street, or a satellite flying overhead. It'll switch between them all in the background, and you'll never even know what's happening. You'll just have a perfect, always-on connection. And this isn't going to happen overnight. It's a phased rollout. We're pretty much in phase 1 right now with basic texting and emergency services. The next step is reliable voice calls. After that will come low bandwidth data for all those Internet of Things devices. And then, finally, the holy grail, full-on broadband and streaming from space.
So even with all of those immense challenges, the general feeling is, this is coming. The idea of killing dead zones for good is officially moving out of the realm of science fiction and into achievable engineering reality. All the pieces are finally starting to fall into place.
Which really just leaves us with one last big question. We've spent so many years asking if we could create a world with universal, inescapable connectivity. Now we have to start asking ourselves, are we actually ready for what that world is going to look like?